Chapter 29. The Genesis of the Capitalist Farmer. Now that we have considered the forcible creation of a class of free and rightless proletarians, the bloody discipline that turned them into wage laborers, the disgraceful proceedings of the state which employed police methods to accelerate the accumulation of capital by increasing the degree of exploitation of labor, the question remains, where did the capitalists originally spring from? For the only class created directly by the expropriation of the agricultural population is that of the great landed proprietors. As far as the genesis of the farmers is concerned, however, we can, so to speak, put our finger on it, because it is a slow process evolving through many centuries. The serfs, as well as the free small-scale proprietors, held land under very different tenures, and were therefore emancipated under very different economic conditions. In England, the first form of the farmer is the bailiff, himself a serf. His position is similar to that of the villicus in ancient Rome, only in a more limited sphere of action. During the second half of the 14th century, he is replaced by a farmer, whom the landlord provides with seed, cattle, and farm implements. The farmer's condition is not very different from that of the peasant, but he exploits more wage labor. Soon he becomes a métayer, a sharecropper. He advances one part of the agricultural stock, the landlord the other. The two divide the total product in proportions determined by contract. This form disappears quickly in England, and gives place to the form of the farmer properly so called, who valorizes his own capital by employing wage laborers, and pays a part of the surplus product, in money or in kind, to the landlord as ground rent. During the 15th century, the independent peasant and the farm laborer working for himself as well as for wages enriched themselves by their own labor, and as long as this was the case, both the farmer's circumstances and his field of production remained mediocre. But the agricultural revolution, which began in the last third of the 15th century and continued during the bulk of the 16th, excepting, however, its last few decades, enriched him just as quickly as it impoverished the mass of the agricultural people. The usurpation of the common lands allowed the farmer to augment greatly his stock of cattle, almost without cost, while the cattle themselves yielded a richer supply of manure for the cultivation of the soil. A further factor of decisive importance was added in the 16th century. At that time, the contracts for farms ran for a long time, often for 99 years. The progressive fall in the value of the precious metals, and therefore of money, brought golden fruit to the farmers. Apart from all the other circumstances discussed above, it lowered wages. A portion of the latter was now added to the profits of the farm. The continuous rise in the prices of corn, wool, meat, in short of all agricultural products, swelled the money capital of the farmer without any action on his part, while the ground rent he had to pay diminished, since it had been contracted for on the basis of the old money values. Thus, he grew rich at the expense both of his laborers and his landlords. No wonder, therefore, that England, at the end of the 16th century, had a class of capitalist farmers, who were rich men in relation to the circumstances of the time.